As someone who is on social media a lot, I often see someone post a picture or a video of their authentic Louis Vuitton bag, and someone in the comments will call it out and say, that's a fake and here's why. And they'll be wrong. And it's not necessarily that they're trying to be mean, there's just a lot of misinformation and myths out there about Louis Vuitton and what they always do in their real bags or what they never do in their real bags. And people get those stuck in their heads. And with so much misinformation and so many really convincing fakes, it can be very difficult to keep track and determine what's real and what's not. So today we will talk about 10 myths that have been floating around about Louis Vuitton that might make you think a bag is fake, when in fact, it's actually real. So stay tuned. Hi YouTube, Autumn Beckman here. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My channel is all about luxury living on a budget, from high-end luxury handbags and small goods to the everyday luxuries of life. If that sounds interesting to you, please make sure you subscribe, click the bell notification icon to be notified when I post new videos, and be sure to like the videos that you enjoy. And one of the perks of subscribing to my channel is you get to see my community post on your YouTube homepage, where I post deals, discount codes, sales, and rare finds related to these beautiful things we love. Now, I have actually done a video before on 10 myths about Louis Vuitton and busting those myths. It was back in 2019, and before I did this video, I re-watched that one to make sure I wouldn't be repeating myself. So I will have that video linked below. Now, some of those myths I will bring up again today, but I have new information to add. Also, this video was inspired by something that recently happened with Winnie B LV, and she discussed it in one of her videos about her basic bags. So I'm going to link her video below. The question came up of whether keys for Louis Vuitton locks ever come in a box or if they only come in the little dust bags. And if you'd like to know the answer to that one, make sure you check out Winnie's video. Myth number 1 is in 3 parts, and I'm going to show you examples from this time, because in my first video I didn't show any examples, which was not the best move. All 3 of these have to do with the Louis Vuitton monogram pattern, and show most of them to you on this bag. One is that the Louis Vuitton pattern always aligns perfectly or almost perfectly at the seams of the bag. That is a myth. They do try to do that, but it is not always possible, and with some of the quality issues that Louis Vuitton has had in previous years, some of that is due to just sloppy craftsmanship. But let me show you what I'm talking about on this bag. So as you can see on the seam of this bag, the monogram pattern lines up pretty well. You've got the diamond shapes, the circle shapes, and it's pretty symmetrical. They did a pretty good job here. It's not perfect, but it looks pretty good. Let's look at the other side and see how that looks. And this is an older bag that was before all the quality issues, so this one actually looks pretty good. But now let's look at the bottom seams, and you'll see that the pattern does not line up here. And here's the other side. It doesn't line up there either. And how could it? This is an example of how the construction of the bag makes it impossible to line the pattern up. Let me show you one more very common example. I don't have a monogram Speedy anymore, so I'll show you on this Damier Ben. It'd be a little easier to see on the monogram, but you'll still get the idea. So you can see along the zipper here that where the dark squares come to where the zipper is, they're lined up pretty well. Again, not perfect, but pretty good. That will not always be the case. You should have, if it's a monogram pattern, you should have the circles line up, the diamonds line up, but they're not always going to be as symmetrical as they could be, especially on newer bags where the quality's gone downhill a bit. Now, still with number 1, but part 2 of this, there's a myth that the LV in the monogram pattern is never upside down. It is in the monogram Speedy, which again I don't have, that this is especially obviously not true. I can still demonstrate with this bag. The Speedy is one continuous piece of canvas all the way around. So if you have the LVs right side up on this side, when you turn the bag upside down like this, they'll be right side up from this angle, but the bag's upside down. So when you turn it this way, it'll be upside down. For example, on one side of the bag here, it says Louis Vuitton, it's right side up. But if you turn the bag around, it's upside down. And you know what I just remembered? I do have a monogram Speedy, so I can demonstrate this a little bit better. The monogram is right side up, and you follow it, it stays right side up until you turn the bag right side up. and then the LVs are upside down. There's one Speedy that I know of that has the monogram right side up on both sides, and that's the French company Speedy. This is a very old Speedy that a lot of people have never heard of. It's a vintage bag. This one, at the time I'm filming this, is currently available on the RealReal. It came up fairly recently, and it's at a great price. It's just a few $100s. It's under $500. So if you're interested in one of these, check it out. It has some rough spots on it, but that's pretty much what you're gonna find with something as old as the French company Speedy. Definitely a collector's piece if you're interested in some unique pieces. But the reason that this bag has the monogram right side up on both sides is because there's a seam on the bottom. It's a strip of vachetta. So they have two different pieces of the canvas instead of one continuous one. I have another example of this to show you on my Ménilmontant PM. On the front, it's right side up, but when you turn it, that back side of the flap, it has them upside down, but then they have another piece of canvas there, so they're right side up again. But you can also follow the side of the bag, because that's one strip of canvas. So when you turn this right side up, the LVs are right side up on one side, but upside down on the other. Now, monogram myth part 3 is that the LVs are never cut off. And that is simply not true. The reason for that is the same as why the pattern doesn't always line up, and it's just the design of the bag. This bag has LVs that are cut off. On the front, they're all good. You can see all of the LVs, but on the back, you can't. Some of the ones on the edges are cut off, and it's just the design of the bag. Myth number 2. The only place that you are guaranteed to get an authentic, brand new Louis Vuitton bag is directly from Louis Vuitton, from one of their stores or from their website. That used to be true until very recently. LVMH, which is the company that owns Louis Vuitton, and LVMH, if you don't know, stands for Louis Vuitton, Moet, like the champagne, and Hennessy, like the cognac. LVMH is the parent company that owns Louis Vuitton and a ton of other brands, and they recently opened a website to sell their brand new authentic items that are from past seasons, and they have Louis Vuitton items on there. Some items from some brands are discounted. The Louis Vuitton pieces tend not to be. They don't like discounting Louis Vuitton, but that is a place outside of a Louis Vuitton store or the Louis Vuitton website where you are guaranteed to get authentic, brand new Louis Vuitton. And I will have that website linked for you below. By the way, a few other brands you'll find there: Loewe, Marc Jacobs, Fendi, Bottega, Dior, Celine, Chloe, Alexander McQueen, Jacquemus, and Ferragamo, to name just a few. Myth number 3 about Louis Vuitton is sloppy stitching equals a fake bag, or double stitching equals a fake bag. I have seen authentic Louis Vuitton bags in Louis Vuitton stores that have sloppy stitching. Perfect stitching is no longer, unfortunately, a marker of an authentic bag, nor is sloppy stitching a marker of a fake bag. Double stitching is something that confuses a lot of people because it looks sloppy, but it's actually supposed to be there. Let me show you what I mean. Now, I don't know how well this is going to show up, but right here and right here and right down here, there's double stitching. So most of these stitches are a single piece of thread, but some of them have 2 stitches of thread. People often see that and think it's a flaw. It's not. It's there for a very important reason, and that is to secure ends of the thread. It's a sewing thing. It's nothing to worry about, and it definitely does not indicate a fake bag. Myth number 4, a Louis Vuitton bag will always be, and I'm not talking about the stitching here, but the construction. It would always be sewn well where it's symmetrical if it's supposed to be, for example. Myth busted, because I have seen bags in the Louis Vuitton store that were very crooked. I don't know how they made it on the floor, but I saw a Speedy once and I took pictures of it, and I don't have them anymore, unfortunately, but I'll use this as an example. It was an empreinte black Speedy, and the ends of the bag were so crooked. I mean, not even subtly so. They were very obviously crooked, where, you know, the corners, not really corners, but kind of the turn right there where it slopes down and then it goes straight. One was lower than the other one, and it was on both sides of the bag. It was just really terrible quality It should never have made it out of the warehouse, but it did, and there it was on the floor. And truly, I'm not trying to say that Louis Vuitton is terrible quality, but as I'm sure you've heard, it has gone downhill. That likely has to do with them pushing bags through the production lines and trying to make things faster than they used to meet demand and bring in more money, and unfortunately that's resulted in poor quality control. Myth number 5 about Louis Vuitton is that the hardware is solid brass or even gold or gold plated. I've never heard of Louis Vuitton handbag hardware being gold, but it did used to be solid brass. It is definitely not anymore. Now we don't quite know what it is. It's some kind of base metal that's coated in a gold color, and that color isn't even consistent. I remember a few years ago watching videos from people that were buying these Speedy Bandoliers brand new. I got mine pre-loved, and the hardware on the strap was a different shade of gold than the hardware on the bag. I don't know if that will show up as being different at all, but there it is. Also, since these are no longer solid brass and they are just coated somehow, and by the way, the hardware on the strap feels like it has some other kind of clear coat maybe on it. I don't know, it feels smoother somehow than the metal on the bag. But because this is just coated in that gold color, it does tend to wear, and you'll be able to see the silver underneath it, the silver toned metal, not sterling silver, at some point. Myth number 6 is that the glazing on the vachetta of your bag is bright red, and if it's bright red, then it has to be fake. Well, sometimes this is true. Some of the fake bags have a very bright red glazing, and it is obvious that it's fake from that. But sometimes authentic Louis Vuitton handbags have red glazing that's brighter than you might expect it to be. This is my Turenne MM, and though I've had this bag for a few years, the glazing is still very much like new. Again, I don't know how well this will show up, but it's very shiny, it's thick, and it is consistent across the entire strap. But the red glazing from Louis Vuitton does change over time, and it can even be different on the same bag. So as shiny and bright as that is, if you can see the edge of the chap there, that's also glazed, but it is more dull. It's not shiny like this. It doesn't stick out like this glazing does. So it's different on the same bag, but I bought this directly from Louis Vuitton. It's authentic. And the glazing changes over time, and I can show you that on this one Neverfull here. Not only does that red glaze get darker over time, which is probably partly where that myth came from, that the bright is fake, particularly in people who are primarily looking at pre-loved bags. You may be used to seeing that darker red, but it also wears down over time with use. You can see on the chap here that it's shiny, it's glossy, and it's pretty consistent. But then move up here to that corner where this is bending back and forth a lot, and you'll see that that glazing has worn away. And then when you look at the edges of the straps where it's being held all the time, the glazing has worn away completely here. You almost can't see any red left, and you're just down to the bare leather. Myth number 7. Sometimes someone might see a Louis Vuitton bag for sale that's the whole package. It comes with the box, the shopping bag, and other accoutrements. But the shopping bag isn't the shopping bag that they're used to seeing. It may have some designs on it, for example, whereas the traditional Louis Vuitton shopping bag is pretty plain. And that may lead someone to think that that bag is fake. Well, Louis Vuitton packaging is faked, and I've seen some good fakes and I've seen some pretty bad ones of it. But I once had someone mistake packaging that I showed that was authentic for being fake because they had only ever seen that particular shopping bag when they had been browsing fakes. This was a Louis Vuitton holiday bag from a few years ago. They didn't realize that Louis Vuitton actually had released that shopping bag, and that's what I was showing. It wasn't the fake that they'd seen on fake websites. Myth number 8. If your Louis Vuitton bag does not have a date code or a serial number, it has to be fake, because Louis Vuittons have those. This is one that I talked about in my previous video, so go check that out to get more information. But here's my update. A lot of you already know this one. A few years ago, Louis Vuitton stopped putting date codes in their handbags. They now have a microchip that has to be scanned to authenticate the bag, and it's my understanding that even those are being faked now. But not having a date code doesn't automatically mean the bag is fake. There are a number of reasons that a Louis Vuitton bag or small good wouldn't have a date code. and they never have serial numbers as far as I know. Myth number 9, Louis Vuitton items never come wrapped in plastic. For example, you would never see a handbag with the handles wrapped in plastic. Generally speaking, that is true, but that is because the associates at the store take the plastic off the bags before they bring them to the showroom for you to see. However, I have seen some Louis Vuitton items at the store that had plastic on them. It's there to protect the items during shipping, and although it probably is usually a sign of a fake bag, because it would be rare that a bag or other item from Louis Vuitton would leave the store or leave the warehouse or arrive shipped to you with plastic on, it is possible. Number 10 is a little bit different. This is one sign that, as far as I know, means your Louis Vuitton bag is in fact 100% fake. And that is if it comes with one of these tags attached. Now, I know a lot of us know this already, but a lot of people don't, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. I see people in the Facebook group sometimes asking people to authenticate a bag, and sometimes they'll have a tag like this, and that's an immediate marker that that's a fake bag, don't buy that one. Oddly enough, this one is being sold on eBay as an authentic Louis Vuitton tag, and this one is being sold as an authentic Louis Vuitton bookmark. But I promise you, there is nothing authentic about them. Remember to go check out my other 10 myths video linked below and Winnie's video linked below about the keys in the box. Let me know in the comments what other myths or misconceptions that you can think of related to Louis Vuitton in the comment section below. And again, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Hope to see you back here next time, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.